I'm not so perfect, baby, yeah, you are. Come right, come right.
How's it going, everyone? A few days ago I made that video talking about burnout and like loss of motivation and stuff. And I actually had not been playing Street Fighter V since before that video. I really just got on to play casual for that gameplay. I haven't really played since like January 9th. So I'm thinking about coming back. You know, probably today I'll probably start playing again. But you guys gave me some great advice over on Reddit about how to really deal with it and how to sort of approach these mental blocks that you reach at some point. And I wanted to share those responses so everybody can sort of benefit from them. Let's get into the first one. Juice92 says, don't force yourself to play, do something else for a few days or weeks. Sometimes you can improve without even playing. If you watch later videos of players you like, or you see a tournament with a lot of hype, the will to play will come back. But I think the worst thing you can do is play a game if you aren't excited about it when you launch it. Give it some time. Games you love are like women you love. Some time apart gives you the opportunity to miss it. I think that this is true, right? This is very true, especially when he talks about sort of getting the hype back by watching players that you like or watching tournaments. For me, it's documentaries. If I watch a lot of fighting game documentaries, I really want to play again. I think the one that I watch the most is probably the Team Spooky one, the one about Spooky himself and his come up. I think that one's really inspirational. Even if it doesn't pertain to the game itself, like just the scene, that one's really good. Any chore gaming video I watch makes me want to, you know, start playing again. So I'm definitely glad that somebody mentioned that, and I think that this was one of the best responses that I saw. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one. This post is actually in response to the previous one by Kite Man, and he says, he quoted and said, do something else for a few days or weeks, and he says, every time I try this, I disappear for a year plus and come back for like 6 months tops. I'm not saying it's a problem, I'm just saying. I think that this was important to include in opposition to the previous comment, because I felt this way when I played Counter-Strike. I played Counter-Strike for years and years and years. I took a break, and it's been probably 3 years since I played the game, 4 years now, and I never came back. And I think that that's an important thing to internalize when you're taking a break, is whether it's worth your time anymore to even play, or if you even think you'll have fun continuing, right? I had some other responses, like personal ones from friends that I'm not going to share, but one of them was basically you really have to sit down and get introspective and think, is it really worth your time, and how much are you willing to commit to this game to get better, and or if you're even having fun at that point, right? This isn't a negative response, right? I think it's important to make sure that it's not taken as a negative response. It's just another way of thinking about things. And with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the third response. I think that it was important to include pretty much all the responses because everybody sort of approached this problem a different way. Some people approached it emotionally, some people approached it analytically, and some people approached it, you know, scientifically, right? And I think Malith here really took the scientific approach, and I really like what he had to say. He said, there's a concept called the 4 stages of learning. There's a lot of articles and videos on it, like this one. Basically, the idea is at first when you're learning a skill, you don't know anything, and you don't know what you don't know. And in that state, it's just fun to learn and try everything. But as you get better, you learn what you don't know, and you need to improve on. And then you start feeling like you're stuck, or plateaued, I think, in my case. And that to get better is too daunting or too much time and effort, and the things you can do well still takes mental effort on your part. Eventually you push through, and you get to the point where you can just do things without thinking about them, and at that point it's fun and easy again. But how do you push through? There's no real easy answer. Some people might be able to will themselves through, but I'm guessing most people without any complex skill, like fighting games, will have some hiccups. Maybe that means you should take a break and come back to it later. Maybe it means you should evaluate whether it's even worth it. And it sounds like some of the problem for you is focusing too much on the negative, and particularly being impatient to get good. There's no real timeline to follow. You don't need to be the best immediately. You don't need to get good in time first try. There'll always be more tournaments, more tournaments and games. College pressure might be contributing. The environment in college can make everything seem really skewed. I ended up writing a bit more than I expected, but I guess I relate to what you're feeling. Anyway, good luck in the future. Thank you for that response. I sort of touched on the Dunning-Kruger effect in the last video, but I think the 4 stages of learning are a little different, and I'm glad that he brought that up. Um, I do agree that I'm rushing to get better because I'm trying to catch up, and I don't know what I'm trying to catch up to, or I don't know why I'm trying to catch up when the game is almost over, and I really don't know, right? I'm glad he said that because I really don't know what I've been rushing for this whole time. Um, and he also talks about you eventually will push through. That's sort of the will that I'm looking for, right? Is the will to push through that on the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's sort of at the bottom where it says that you're competent now, but you need to have that one last push to go back up the curve to the expert level where you're sort of playing from your muscle memory, right? And that's the hardest part for me. Uh, and he doesn't, it's great that he doesn't really sugarcoat things, right? How do you push through? There's no answer, and that's completely correct. The answer is different for everybody. It's how you learn. It's how you, it's how much willpower you have, how much confidence you have, and how you overcome those hiccups that you are gonna face. Uh, and I do think I focus way too much on the negative. I think a lot of people do. They focus a lot more on their losses than they do their wins. For example, I played in the exhibition that I talked about, and the one that I won does not linger in my head as much as the one that I lost, if that makes sense. I won 1-5-1, I lost 1-1-5, and the 1-5 stung way more than the 5-1 felt good, for lack of a better term, I guess. And then the college part is kind of exclusive to me and other, other students that are seeing this. That college pressure, it does contribute, right? It sort of takes a little bit of time away. But with online classes, that time is sort of more skewed towards playing games now because I don't have anywhere to go. Yeah, I think that this thread really got a lot of responses because people can relate to what I'm feeling at some point in their either fighting game career, maybe real life career, or some point in their life. I think that everybody has sort of reached this phase. So thank you for sharing, and let's go ahead and move on to number 4, I think. Lufus Throwaway says, fighting games are mentally and physically taxing. You're constantly thinking, reacting, predicting, analyzing situations, and making micro decisions. Over time, that takes a toll on you. My advice, have a second, play a non-fighting game to take your mind off things and relax. Ideally, something less stressful than fighting games. Yeah, I think this is great advice, not just for my case, not just for Street Fighter, but for any game, right? Switching genres is always something that is welcomed and sometimes can maybe even lead you to find something that you like that you didn't even know about. For me, I played a game called Gris, Gris. I didn't finish it, but that game is very relaxing and like atmospheric, and I realized that I really like those kind of games. In contrast, I think they're a huge contrast to fighting games, right? It's very much a game you can just sit back and hold forward, uh, and just get through the game, right? And just enjoy the atmosphere, the music, and the visuals. I actually have a TE2 stick that I built around that game, with like the art and stuff on it. I definitely need to finish it because I built a whole stick around it. But yeah, thank you, Lufus, for that. And I do agree that fighting games are way more mentally and physically taxing than most games, right? You not only have to make a bunch of calculations, you have to be inputting things very quickly compared to League of Legends where obviously you're inputting things fairly quickly, I don't think as precisely, and you're making a lot of calculations in that game as well. Definitely, I think this type of game, like fighting games, definitely are way more physically taxing than most. The only one that it might not be is like FPS, like precision shooters specifically, like Counter-Strike and Valorant. You start to get RSI like right in here, in your forearm and stuff, and your wrist sort of it takes a toll on your wrist. Yeah, I think that's definitely true though. And mentally taxing too, because you're the only person you can blame for whether you're improving, you're not improving, you're losing, you're winning. It's all on you. It's all your fault or all the fruits of your labor. So it's definitely way more mentally taxing than any other game genre, except maybe like RTS, because RTS is also 1v1. So in that sense, I think that they might be equal. Anyways, thank you for that response, Lufus, and let's go ahead and move on to number 5. Rasputin says, it might be tough to apply your friend's advice. To take a break is really the key. It doesn't have to be long, but just do something else. Read a book, play through a single player game, maybe even taking a break to work out in between sets is enough to clear your mind. Force yourself to fill your time with something. Second bit of advice is to find some friends that you can dick around with in game. Even the best players like Punk, Nephew, sometimes just pick random characters and make stupid plays just for fun. Looking at FGs or any competitive hobby from just the perspective as a competitor is a trap. IMO. This I think was probably my favorite response, because it was short, right? It was short, but it really got into what I was thinking specifically. You might say that you might have a different response that you liked more that really grasps your situation, but I think this one grasped my situation very well. Um, and it was the part where he says, uh, you can't just look at the game from their perspective as a competitor. And I think that this entire time I've really been playing the game as a means to an end, if that makes sense. And the end being, you know, competing, right? And everything in between was just filler. And I think that, I don't remember, I think it was Tokido said that at some point he used to play the game as a means to an end as well. But when he started playing the game to have fun, that's when he started really improving. And I think that's really the key. I think that's really the key to why I mean that and taking a break when you need it. But I think that's why I sort of plateaued, is because I wasn't having fun anymore. And I think that finding a way to make the game fun for you as well as competitive is very important, and a very important balance. And I think that a way to do that is to maybe learn more about your character, or learn a new character, right? Or play just random characters, or find, like Rasputin says, find friends that you can just mess around with who don't really care. And I think I found that recently. So I really like this advice. It's very short to the point, and it really grasped my situation in particular very well. Let's go ahead and move on to number 6. So, Disastrous Unit, 7793s. Take a break from the game. Play some other fighting games if you want. Play MK11 instead of Street Fighter V. It helped him get better at Street Fighter V, because most of the time he just played offensively, which Street Fighter V does encourage very, very much, is to play super offensively, and just reacted to the opponent's mistakes. But he was never aggressive. MK11 helped him adapt to the flow of the match, and now he's not afraid to play aggressively when needed. Street Fighter V. I think that other games do teach you concepts that you can move in between to other fighting games, right? I've been playing Dragon Ball FighterZ, for example, recently, and that game teaches you how to defend like, I mean, no other game I've played so far, right? There's definitely games in the past that have been better for defensive play, I guess, but that game really makes you conscious of your situation when you're blocking, right? You're blocking, then they go high, then you have to, you know, block high, right? And the block strings are so long that you're blocking for 15, 20 seconds at a time, but you still have to react. You can't just hold down back, because you're going to get hit with an overhead, or you're going to get hit by an assist overhead, or something, you know, weird, right? Like for me, I always get hit by Bardock's overhead, you know, after his string, he does this weird, like, spin overhead. That took me a while to figure out that it was an overhead, because I'm just used to mindlessly holding down back and waiting for something to whiff. But a lot of people in that game know their block strings and keep them tight. So you have to be very proactive on defense, and I think that that game really helps a lot. However, I play Street Fighter V very defensively, and I'm not very aggressive, so who knows if that really helped me. But I feel like it helped me learn my defensive options a lot better. So, Mandalefty said, I ask this often to the people in the I must get good mindset. How good do you want to be? What are your concrete goals with this game? And if it's to have fun, then great. Keep playing and enjoy the social aspect of a fun genre. Is it to get a specific win rate? If you could magically set your win rate percentage, what would you make it? Obviously not 100%, right? Even if you magically could, you'd realize playing was totally pointless, just like One Punch Man. So what? 90%? 80%? It's funny because most people simply say, I want to win more. But how much more? And how much better do you want to be? And on top of that, how quickly do you want to get to this better state? I think asking yourself these questions simply as a thought starter could open up some perspectives about you feeling unmotivated. Hopefully, Cheers. Thank you, Mandalefty. I think this is a great response. I think it challenges what I said respectfully and sort of offers an alternative, as well as, some thought-provoking things to ask yourself. And I think that having fun has really shifted to the back of my mind, and I never really realized it until I started reading through this. And that setting a specific win rate obviously isn't important to me, but I think that rank became very important to me for no reason, right? Hitting diamond was like a huge goal for me when I started. When I started a year ago, I knew that I wanted to hit diamond at some point, but I learned so many things that matter way more than rank in between there, that I just started ranking up naturally, right? By just playing the game and improving. But once I stopped improving, the layers sort of faded and rank came out on top, right? Because I didn't know what else to learn, so I just wanted to rank up, and that's why I sort of plateaued. And I think that I plateaued, and I wanted to find a way to overcome this plateau. I didn't want to get stuck on the hill, per se. I wanted to overcome it. I knew that I was stuck in the moment. I was stuck at that moment, but it doesn't mean that you're stuck forever. It means that you just need to find a way to get over it, and I've been there before. This time it just felt a lot harder than previous times because I'm a way higher rank than I have been in the past. And when you get to this sort of level, it feels like the things that you need to become better at are not as pronounced, per se. They're not as in your face. So it's just a lot more getting engaged with the game and using a lot more brain power to figure out what's wrong and implementing it. As far as setting the win rate, I think that this is really saying that people become pretty they become pretty caught up in stats, right? LP win rate, tournament wins, placings, right? Statistics are something outside of the game completely, right? When you're playing the game, you can't focus on anything like that. For me, when I'm playing, sometimes I catch myself playing for numbers, right? Playing for LP, and mid-game I'm like, oh, I lost. I'm going to see minus 87 at the end of this game. Which is, you can't do that. You have to be 100% in the game all the time when you're playing. You have to give the game your full attention for the most part, right? Some people are really good at autopiloting. I think I'm pretty good at it to an extent, but whenever that autopilot is challenged, or maybe a flowchart is challenged, you could say, you sort of break down and then you have to really focus back in on the game and start changing things. But it's at that point where you have to consciously make a decision to turn off autopilot and take the reins back. Some people, like Flowchart Ken, right, or Brazilian Ken, right, a lot of people like to throw that term around. Those people don't take the autopilot back. They just keep letting it keep letting it flow, right? They just keep letting the flowchart run. So yeah, I think getting in the right mindset and not being stuck on statistics while you're playing is very important. And then he says, how quickly do you want to get to this better state? For me, it's always been as fast as possible, but I don't think that's the best, I don't know if that's the best way to think about it, is as fast as possible, because it's going to be gradual no matter what. You might gradually, you might gradually get better faster than other people, but it's not something that's going to come overnight for most people. Well, for anybody really, unless you have experience in other games, right? Because when I was playing Dragon Ball, right? I've been posting a few Dragon Ball videos. I don't know if I'm going to keep posting them, but some people were like, wow, you're progressing very quick. Some people were kind of upset. They were like looking at my stat page and they saw that it said that I had done a 10,000 damage combo, which I think is like a touch of death, which I had never done because I don't know how to do any of them. But I got some comments saying, oh, first week, huh? 10,000 damage combo, huh? And they were like kind of upset about that. But it's not because I became good overnight. It's because I've been playing this game. I've been playing Street Fighter, and the skills carry over. I'm not gonna progress the same way a beginner would in that game as a person who has played another fighting game for a year, right? So just something else to think about. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all 7 responses. And I thank you guys so much for responding and keeping it constructive and really keeping me motivated to come back to the game and keep playing. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, and I hope you have a great day.